Welcome to Life Rebounding. I want to turn our attention today to Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 1, and I'm going to read this verse, which really is the summary statement of Jesus' mission. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners. As we continue to reflect on the line from Margaret Self's book, Inner Compass, how I am, however broken, she says that how I am, however broken, becomes a place of grace. And I want to just reflect on that a little bit further and put my own spin on it. And that would be how I am, however broken, becomes a place of sweet embrace when I meet Jesus there. Jesus, in his mission statement, talks about coming with the purpose of binding up the brokenhearted. That's the experience of an awful lot of us, if not all of us, in our lives, of dealing with brokenness in our lives, dealing with broken hearts, the hurts and the pains from the past. And I have to admit that I haven't always handled my hurts and pains from the past very well. I've too often carried baggage with me that's not only been a part of my past, but it's actually driven a lot of my present. And one of the things that I've learned is that as I've looked at my life, until I met Jesus in some of those places of pain, I could never really get better. I was always just dragging that luggage with me. And when I did meet Jesus in those places of pain and places of my own brokenness, I discovered that he could transform those memories and change them from something that held a lot of pain to something that held a great deal of sweetness. Now let me illustrate that for you. When I was a kid, one of my earliest memories is of being a toddler and waking up one Sunday afternoon from the Sunday afternoon nap. Now that was a normal practice in our home. It was back in the days when the Sabbath actually meant something to most people. Our family went to church on Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon we had lunch, and then everybody headed to their bedrooms and had a nap. That afternoon I woke up. I was the first one up. I wandered out of my bedroom into the living room, and I picture it all as being the house being in darkness, though it was a Sunday afternoon. And what confronted me was the feeling of total abandonment. I believed in that moment that my family had packed up and left me behind. Now that was a common experience for me. I never got lost or separated from my family when we were out shopping or wherever we might be. Whenever I got separated, I always believed that my family had abandoned me. Now I have no good reason for that belief, but that's the belief that I dealt with for most of my life. And that shaped an awful lot of what drove my present. The belief that I was alone and that I was always going to be alone. Until one day in prayer, I decided to ask Jesus where he was in that moment in time in my life. And one of the things that I realized was that the big red chair that was always my favorite place to sit, to watch cartoons, to watch TV, to do whatever, in that room, in that moment, Jesus showed me that that's where he was. And the way he transformed that memory was to invite me to come and sit with him in that big red chair. Now you might think, well, you're just imagining that, you're just crazy. Well, it might be, but what I can tell you is it had an incredible healing effect in my life. That I knew in that moment that there was one who cared for me, who loved me, and who was present with me. And I want to suggest to you that in your places of pain, if you can look back in those places and invite Jesus to join you there, or ask him where he was in those moments, he will show you where he was, and he can change those moments in time from places of pain to places of sweet embrace. I want to suggest to you today that love, grace, acceptance, and presence are the four legs of the surgical table of the great physician. Let me say that again. Love, grace, acceptance, and presence are the four legs of the surgical table of the soul, of the great, and that's what the great physician uses in our lives. That's what Jesus uses. He uses his love, his grace, his acceptance of us, and his presence in our lives to transform places that hold deep pain and hurt for us. And I want to encourage you today to just remember that He is the one who is able to bind up the brokenhearted. And He's as present today as ever He was 2,000 years ago. And He can meet you in those places and transform them. And so how I am, however broken, becomes a place of sweet embrace when I meet Jesus there.